Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about the content sharing software market, in particular, a sharing application called Unite. To discuss that, I'm joined by Brian Cockrell, co-founder and product owner of Unite at Intel. Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, James, thanks for having me.
Great. So it's pretty interesting. Unite is the content sharing software application. So I'm assuming you know about the sector. I'd love to get your thoughts as you look at the entire sector of content sharing apps. What are some key trends you see? I mean, how can people better understand the sector?
One of the key trends is it's really become ubiquitous in the past couple of years, right? And it's only increasing. You have content sharing applications that are used widely for both consumer and business. We were working at home during this pandemic. We still wanted to connect and share with others when we're working at home. Children were, distance learning there at home, but we wanted this, ability to connect either, asynchronously. So you're sharing your pictures and videos, or real-time content as well. And you access these things through phones, PCs, right? But the real-time content sharing happens, a lot of it traditionally we know in video conferences. You're
Mhm.
sharing a presentation or a digital whiteboard. But it's also happening more face to face when folks are in collaboration spaces together.
Mhm.
Traditionally in a face-to-face environment, we'd be in a meeting room. We'd plug in this cable, we'd have to pass that cable around when it's your turn to share content. But now that expectation is, we can do it through an application, like something like Intel Unite. You'll be able to walk into a meeting space or collaboration space with your phone or a laptop or whatever you bring,
Mhm.
and you're just able to share. And so that's happening. It's happening more than just in collaboration spaces in offices. We're seeing this trends happening in clinical settings with your doctor. A
Mhm.
few years ago, I broke some bones while I was skiing,
Mhm.
and I was, working with this orthopedic, and he pulled out this little tablet to share content with me. We both kind of huddled around it to look at some images, some X-rays. But now what we're seeing is, is you have these big displays in clinical offices and in the patient room, and they'll be running digital signage, so you have content that's beautiful artwork. But then your doctor, she can take that over and show you your x-rays, your images, your
Mhm.
outpatient plan. So it's really, we're starting to see this go everywhere, right? Even education is even kind of in that same direction. You've got both K-12, higher ed. There's this expectation that like students and teachers can both share lessons, they can share work, their content, what they're working on. You don't have teachers tethered to their podium or their desk, but rather they're walking around the classroom asking students to share content so that everyone can see and comment on. It's a
Mhm.
lot more free flowing and
Mhm.
collaborative, but everyone gets to participate and share. And so in seeing in these areas, one thing that one trend is, we get asked all the time as we're talking to folks is, what about security and data sovereignty? Like
Right.
that's really trending. If you're sitting there, when your content leaves your device and it made on your network over to the display in your classroom, or more importantly like in the doctor's office, where does it traverse to?
Right.
Does it go out to a cloud? Is that cloud in your country? Where is it? That data sovereignty is really important.
Right.
From your picture, it's going 5 feet over this display, but you might be going out to the cloud.
Mhm.
And then if it is going out to someone else's cloud, is it encrypted? Is there end-to-end
Mhm.
encryption in place? So
Mhm.
those are some of the things we're seeing in that content sharing sector right now.
It's really interesting. I hadn't thought so much about the privacy piece, but of course, it's going to be a major piece of it. And also, I hadn't thought about the idea of content sharing. It's not just work from home. It's like when you're right next to someone, you're still using an app to share content. So in fact, we need that to be as collaborative and sort of, free form as you're mentioning. Um, let's talk about Unite in particular. What challenges or business needs does it address that other applications don't handle? I mean, what's special about Unite?
Well, Unite it's really flexible. It's been built on this open platform where we designed in security right from the beginning. We have this future of work that's really unknown.
Hmm.
As we return back to the office, it's going to be more a place, it's going to be more of a tool and a place to we go. And previously we had about, only 30% of the space was dedicated to collaboration, but we're seeing that flip to 70% is going to be
Hmm.
used as collaboration space. Because why do you want to go into the office, your workplace? you want to go to meet with other folks. Otherwise, you just stay in your house and work remotely and do that kind of individual, kind of independent work.
Mhm.
But in the collaboration spaces aren't, it's not we're just going to flip and build, you know, conference rooms as far as the eye can see. It's going to be different kind of spaces in there, and there's going to be trial and error. I
Yeah.
used to design lab spaces at Intel. You know, I'd
Mm.
get 80 to 90% of the lab space right. And I'd try, you know, we'd take a risk and build something a little different. Oh, that didn't work. We'd have to reconfigure it. So this trial and error, as we build, you know, massive amounts of collaboration space, you might have things like, oh, digital whiteboarding space. You might have an open space where you just want to do wireless presentation. Of course, you'll have your video conferencing spaces, and you might have digital signage as well that can be repurposed. But you're going to build spaces, and it might not land right. It might not hit right with your employees. And so you want to be able to reconfigure that. Well, with Unite, what's really unique is if you put in a space and do video conferencing, maybe it's in an open area and you've got microphones and speakers, and it's not really fitting, it's not really being used. And with Unite, you can look at that telemetry and see how your collaboration spaces are being used. You can really quickly change that experience. You'd say, oh, we don't want to do video conferencing in that space. You can remotely reconfigure it to say, oh, now that's digital whiteboarding, and we're going to put digital signage there. So
Mm.
that flexibility as we go back to work is really unique with Unite. It enables you to, you know, be really flexible, change things around, and deliver experiences that your employees want. You know, another one is that security. You know,
Mm.
Intel, we always say, you know, we're paranoid at Intel. You know, we handle security really uniquely. You mentioned like privacy. So
Mhm.
even if you're using our cloud service, so managing Unite from the cloud, we still keep all of your content on the network. It never leaves your network.
Mm.
So you have all that content, it's encrypted end to end, and the only thing that goes out to that cloud service is just configuration data, no PII, none of your, you know, your business content, education content, that all stays on network. You know, and again, we have a really robust, you know, security lifecycle, and that's how we've designed it from the beginning. And, you know, I think the last thing that makes, you know, Unite stand apart is we're open platform. So
Mm.
we have an architecture where other folks can, you know, design in and plug in their apps into Unite. And then with Unite, it's, you know, you need a system with a Core i5 or better. So you can take this hardware and build it. You don't have to buy specific vertically integrated hardware from your vendor. You can use what you have. And it's also built on PC. So you know how to manage it and deploy it. It just fits right into your existing, you know, management and support that you do today for endpoints.
Are most companies or office spaces using it to share video, or what's the most typical sharing scenario?
You know, it's sharing video. You know, when you get into like you know, high performance, high def 4K audio video, we see a
Mhm.
lot of that, and Unite really excels there. We're able to take advantage of, you know, silicon and those transistors to give you a really high performance 4K audio video sharing capability. But you know, that's the other part of it. As we go to the future of work with Unite, you could add in, you have video conferencing apps, you can add in digital whiteboarding apps. So it's really what we are seeing today and how people are using it. It's really going to change in the future, and we don't
Mm.
know, it's really unknown exactly where and how people are going to use it.
Interesting. You know, you mentioned the future. I'd love to take a look at the future of Unite and of the content sharing app sector broadly. I mean, if you look a few years ahead, say 2 to 4 years ahead, what do you see? I mean, any milestones or trends we should expect?
You know, one thing is that it's going to become even more ubiquitous, and we're going to see it go into more areas. There's going to be this expectation you can go into any space and just really easily share
Mhm.
your content with anyone. You know, we're going to see it go into, I think we'll see it go into things like retail. So you
Mhm.
might be shopping, and, you know, this employee will show you what might not be in the store. They'll show you, be able to easily flip to a screen that's in the store, show you other things that's on the web. Or even if you go to a coffee shop and you want to have this impromptu meeting, how can you easily take over that display that's in the coffee shop? Maybe it's got digital signage. You take it over and you might share some content for yourself. And even into hospitality, right? So we see this going into more areas as we move forward in the future.
It's interesting because, you know, we think about the future with technology and with media. I mean, it sort of creates this world where we can share whenever we want. We're sort of immersed in media whenever we want to be. used to be this clunky thing we had to set up, and now it's like more, it's easier and easier, which I guess in the best case scenario really helps communication and sharing.
Yeah, it helps that collaboration, that feel of connection with someone else, right? And whether or not you're sharing your family vacation pictures or that work product that you've been working so hard on. So
Mhm.
yeah, super exciting future for content sharing.
Great. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for sharing your expertise today. I definitely learned something. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, James, for having me.